and currently sits as board advisor of FMAP, the CFA Society of the Philippines, and the Trust Officers Association of the Philippines. He has been a governor for several years in the Market Governance Board, representing us investors at the Philippine Fixed Income Exchange. He is the current chairman and president of IFB Management Advisors, the company behind the design of this program. His 3-decade career in fund management started with Far East Bank and further advanced his banking career at City Trust Banking Corporation, PCI Bank, and Equitable PCI Bank. He was the former Senior Vice President and Chief Investment Officer of BDO Unibank, overseeing the management of more than 700 billion pesos in assets. He is now a consultant of COL Financial Group, where he launched COL Fund Source, the first fund supermarket in the country. Our speaker graduated from the Ateneo de Manila University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Management Engineering. He is also a certified securities representative and a certified investment solicitor. Ladies and gentlemen, please warmly welcome Mr. Marvin Fausto.
Thank you, Boy. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Yeah, let me just get organized. Yeah, we're all very happy that, actually we're very excited to see, we initially booked a smaller room, but with all the registrations, we had to move to this bigger room. And we're just very excited because this program is really the first. We conceptualized this maybe 20 years ago when we started FMAP, and we wanted to teach the new breed of fund managers. So when I had a little bit more time, I kind of helped design this program so that we can build the new breed or the new generation of fund managers. So let me tell you about this. No? As you know, as the economy grows, people become a bit wealthier, and they would really need the services of fund managers. And it's more critical for them to handle the money of these funds because it continues to grow and the markets continue to be volatile. In fact, the world is also growing in terms of funds. $69 trillion total assets under management. And in the Philippines, we have about 4.5 trillion funds under management. When we started FMAP, we were just a member of about 1 billion 20 years ago. And now it's 4.5 trillion pesos, about $90 billion. And it continues to grow. And the two types of major funds that are being managed today are what they call the active funds and the passive funds. The active funds, as you know, are the ones managed by fund managers using their skill, their talent, their experience in allocating assets, choosing securities. The passive funds are the ones that are less managed by fund managers, but they follow a certain guideline where they follow the benchmark or the index. It is now popularly called the ETFs or the exchange traded funds. They use this as a tool of asset allocation. Fund managers also use this as an outlet for allocating portfolios. And of late, past 10 years, funds have been moving from the additional funds that are moving to passive funds, from active funds to passive funds. Active funds now represent about 70%. The active managed funds are 70% of the total. And about 30% of them, of the total, are now passive funds. And the flows are really moving. In the US, for instance, for the past 10 years, the black bars represent the inflow of passive funds in the United States. For the past 10 years, as you can see, it's an inflow, and the active funds are getting outflows. So more and more, people are getting aware of this active and passive simply to diversify portfolios and to manage risk. And one of the reasons is really the funds are getting harder and harder to outperform their benchmarks. It is getting more challenging for fund managers to outperform their targets and their benchmarks or the indices. Like for example, in the United States, if you look at the performance 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, less and less fund managers outperform. In fact, only about 14% of all funds outperform their benchmarks. So like majority underperform. In the local scene, we are now seeing that as well in the Philippines. This chart shows you the flow of funds, of mutual funds in the industry. And as of 2016, there's a small growth in flows to the passive funds. But you're still not feeling that. Passive funds represent about less than 1% of all active, of total funds in the country. About 45 billion pesos worth of passive funds. But it's slowly getting increasing. In fact, also, in terms of performance, less and less fund managers outperform here in the country. Only about 11% of, this is for equity funds, outperform. 4 out of 36 equity funds in the country outperformed for the past 5 years. And well, one of them was the fund I was managing when I was in BDO. So there were 4 of them really outperforming. It's really very, very hard. And so we talked about, so why set up this FMCP, a Fund Management Certificate Program? So we can teach more of these fund managers to better manage money of people. And fund management is not really just about picking stocks or outperforming. There's a lot of reasons why people manage money. It is really for the future, for certain targets, for certain reasons, to manage their risk, to manage their portfolio. That's not the only reason. And in fact, outperformance is not just the reason why people invest. You want to track or chart your financial future, financial journey. There are certain purposes for your investment. It could be for retirement, for the education of your children, or you want to choose what stocks or what funds or what securities you want to buy. And active managers they can still outperform. You've seen that. And people want to have control of the investment. They just don't want to put it in an index. And there's really a challenge in it's really managing funds. And one of the gifts of or the success of a fund manager is really being able to be proven right in their strategies and in their calls. And more and more investors would need also the services of fund managers. So, what is this program? It is really the first of its kind. From my experience in this industry, I kind of put together what is really needed for fund managers today. So put some modules of different types of fundamental, technicals, and all of these things that a fund manager really needs in order to improve and set the standard of the minimum standard of education that is needed for managing fixed income in equities. And it's a collaboration of Ateneo and the FMAP and the IFE, as explained earlier. FMAP now has about 50 financial institution fund managers and about 300 members. And IFE is the company that I set up 2 years ago. And it's really, IFE just simply means investing for everyone. And that's really the advocacy of that company. And that is what we wanted to do in order to help improve managing of funds. Okay, there are 10 modules in the program. On the first half, you will see these are the foundations. Foundation and the fundamentals that you need to understand in managing money. So you learn from it. I'll talk about each of these later. And then the second half are the non-fundamental part. So these are your technicals, these are your client relations or behavioral. I'll explain that a bit later. And I think what really makes this program different is that there's a unique structure that we did, which is different from other financial courses. And it is advanced curriculum delivered by professionals or market practitioners that are experts in their field. So I gathered the lecturers and the subject matter expert to particularly explain or teach you the different modules. And they are going to marry theory with practice. No one in the lecture list is less than 20 years of experience. So more 20 years experience in doing what they do. And we will be using critical platforms like exercises, lectures, case studies, and other learning tools. And then there's going to be a course integration activity where a group of 3 participants will have to create or be given a task to manage 500 million in a hypothetical company. And they will have to craft a strategy and present it to a panel and defend. And it's going to be very focused on management for working professionals. So, who are the people behind? I was introduced earlier. We tried to put together my experience managing funds for over 30 years. And I kind of added some of the things that is needed. And I will start with Module 1, learning from the masters as a start of all the programs. So what we need to understand and what is the life, or what are the lives, or the principles behind these successful investors. We will start with the early 1900s, where Benjamin Graham, people talk about Benjamin Graham, who's the father of value investing. The guy who wrote the 2 books, or the Bible of fundamental analysis. And then, talk about Warren Buffett, you know, all the Warren Buffett, the most successful investor with over $70 billion in net worth. He was mentored by Benjamin Graham. And then John Templeton is the father of global investing. Peter Lynch, best equity fund manager during his time, managing the largest mutual fund in the world, the Magellan Fund. Understand the principle behind of Bill Gross. Bill Gross is the bond king. He was managing the largest fixed income in the world. So let's try to see how were they able to be successful. John Bogle is the father of index funds. He's the founder of Vanguard, the largest index fund group in the world. $4 trillion under management. Ray Dalio, some of you might not know, Ray Dalio is the best asset allocator in the world. He manages the largest hedge fund, $160 billion. And you will have to have $5 billion before you can talk to him. And then we'll understand Wilson C. Wilson C is the localized fund manager, but he has the best track record in the country with over 23 years of outperformance managing field equity fund. So we also study the principles and the things that he uses in terms of managing funds. So we'll start by learning the principles that they use. And then we'll use, the second module is going to be from macro. And one of the respected economists in the country is going to do that. June Trinidad, a former chief economist of Citibank, covering Philippines and Thailand. He had more than 25 years experience in macroeconomics and analysis. He would be the one teaching about how macro affects investments. He's not going to teach you about the economy, but he's going to teach you how it affects fund management. He'll give you these case studies. It will be taken in two sessions of 4 hours each. He's going to talk about how this build, or this growing economy, increasing interest rates, how exchange rate affect investments in your portfolio. So he's going to talk about monetary and fiscal policy and how all of these things affect your strategies. And then module 3, we'll go down now, after the macro, we'll go down now to the specific asset class. And the biggest asset class is really fixed income. And no other than the president of the Fund Managers Association of the Philippines, Dino Basas, will be the one doing the lecture. He is one of the best, or is one of the most experienced fixed income fund manager in the country. President of FMAP and president of ATR Asset Management Group. See here? And he's going to talk about the fixed income market, the mathematics behind fixed income, and how you value the portfolio and how to manage the portfolio of fixed income. Now that interest rates are going up, it's more difficult, it's more challenging for you to make money in fixed income. And then we move to module 4, talk about equity investments. And April Tan, the CFA or charter holder, will teach the participants the fundamentals of equity analysis, looking at intrinsic value, finding out in discounted cash flow, understanding whether a stock is overvalued or undervalued. And she will be using the principles behind CFA. She's the head research of COL, the largest online stockbroker in the country. And she kind of became the former president of CFA Society. She mentored the students that joined in the international challenges of CFA. That I think we were able to win a couple of championships there. In fact, one of my children joined represented the country 2 years ago in the research challenge of CFA, mentored by April. So she will be talking about the fundamentals of equities, stepping into a role as an equity analyst to understand how you value this thing. Next is, of course, after the macro, fixed income, and equity, we will have the portfolio management module. And no other than the most experienced portfolio manager will teach you about that. He replaced me in video as the chief investment officer and now managing the largest fund in the country. And he has been multi-awarded as a portfolio manager. He's going to talk about portfolio construction, maintenance, process that you have to go through in setting up a portfolio. He's going to talk about the application of these concepts in fixed income and equity. There's going to be a case study in understanding or setting up your own portfolio. So it will also be taken in two 4-hour sessions. And then, after that, you have the first 5 is fundamental. Now we move to the non-fundamental part of fund management. And we'll start with technical analysis. Technical analysis is being used widely by traders, and no other than the awarded best technical analyst in the country is going to tell you about that. One is Barredo, more than 25 years experience in technical analysis, really ahead, chief technical analyst of COL Financial. He writes every day about these things. And he is the most sought after speaker as far as technical analysis is concerned. He's going to talk about the foundations, the patterns, the formations, timing, prediction, Elliott wave theories. These are the things that you need to time the market and predict the movements of stock prices. And that's going to be taken in 2 sessions as well. And next, I'll come back in module 7, talk about behavioral finance. And this is a very interesting topic, simply because we are all designed to have 2 parts of our brain. One is the prefrontal cortex, which is the rational part of our brain, and then the limbic system, which is the irrational or the emotional part of our brain. And most often, even if we find it, rationally speaking, good to time to invest, our irrational self or emotional self kind of drives the behavior. And we have to understand how this works. There are a lot of behavioral pitfalls, or what you may say, cognitive biases, that we are affected every day. You hear about the news, the market's going up, stock market's going down. We are affected in our decision making. So I will be discussing what are the most common common pitfalls that fund managers face and how we can strategize against it so you can perform better. And then module 8, a fund manager's job is not just managing money. The second is really managing clients' expectation. So this is also very critical. And no other than Nanette Linoya will be talking about that. She has experienced more than 25 years in portfolio management, marketing, and business development. And she was the Deputy Trust Officer of Deutsche Bank Trust. She will be talking about how clients should face, how fund managers should face clients, how to communicate better, present better, so that when you communicate and you set up a portfolio, you'll be able to manage it according to the expectations of the client. I remember a time when I was managing a fund for religious organization. As you know, that religious organization purpose, the fund is for the purpose of funding their projects. And syempre, I was talking to the sister as the head. And sister was saying, Marvin, the stock market is up already 15%. Why don't you increase your exposure? Sister, take a syempre, di ba, when the market goes down, Marvin, you should cut down your exposure. So how do you handle these things, di ba? Sometimes it became a joke because when sister is telling us to buy, that's the peak of the market. So we have to handle these things when you're managing money. Because it's really very difficult and challenging because the earnings of the fund will go to the projects of the religious organization. Kung konti lang yung kita nun, you'll be guilty. So it's critical that you know how to manage clients as part of your responsibility. Now, Module 9 will set the standard for ethics and accountability. No other than the president of the CFA Society, Chris Eseo, we'll talk about that and she's here. She's a board advisor at FMCP, and experience is fixed income. She also lectures in De La Salle. And as the president of CFA, she will be teaching the global standard on ethics. She will be talking about the CFA Institute Code of Ethics and standards that they use. Also talk about the Code of Ethics in the Philippines of trust officers as well as the FMCP. And to create a culture of integrity, transparency, and accountability. There are a lot of gray areas when you're managing money. There is conflict of interest. And she will be explaining what are the most common ones and how you can adapt to these things and how you can decide. In FMCP, in this program, we just don't teach you how to do things right as far as the fundamentals concerned. We also like to teach you to do the right thing. So this ethics standard will help us do the right thing. And the module is to talk about the asset management business as a whole, the business itself. And no other than Mike Ferrer, who heads ATR Asset Management, will teach us about that. And he was the most experienced because of his exposure in other countries in handling funds. And he was the one successfully competed against the big fund managers, BPI, BDO, and Metrobank. ATR Asset Management now has grown to a small boutique asset manager to a large 100 billion asset manager. And he's going to talk about the business of asset management itself. What are the laws behind it, the regulations, how you structure. And then he will ask the students to come up with a product or a business. And it's going to be over a panel discussion, or they will be presenting like a Shark Tank. They will be doing it, and when they will try to pitch the business. And it's going to be that the students will be graded accordingly. So it's a whole course that we will teach over a period of about 2 months. We'll have 10 modules, 18 sessions. We will have exams, of course, 3 exams in the middle, and then 1 final comprehensive exam. And then there's a graded course in integration activity. This is the whole course. And at this point, I will turn you over to my Deputy Program Director, who will explain more of the administrative side as well as more about the course activity. And then I will come back for the final word.